All righty, here is old Captain Marrio. Thanks for coming on the show, buddy.
Anytime.
Appreciate it. I know you're a fan favorite. You've been on here kind of like where Tyler's won 3 times. I think you've been on here 4 or 5.
A couple.
6 times, maybe.
I stopped counting. I only have 10 fingers.
So, you're a captain locally here at a plantation on the Crystal River. You do trout fishing, snook fishing, red fishing. Basically, if it's
Everything
inshore,
yeah,
you're going to get it. Occasionally, you'll do a little inshore grouper trip, though that's not your favorite.
Yeah, I try not to. It's not my forte.
Yeah. So very well-rounded inshore. Would you say that you've got the knack for catching these trout?
Oh, I don't know about all that. I just it was a necessity for me as a guide here in the Crystal River area.
Sure.
That's one of our bread and butter species, of course. Lindsay and I run Tall Tails charters. She's been helping me. She's my first mate, and also she's my fiance, and we're kind of building this thing together. And yeah,
you heard it here first.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, boom, yeah.
I put a ring on it. So,
whoa.
But we do a lot of trout fishing this time of year. Usually in November is when we kick it off really well.
Yeah.
It goes through December and January also. If the weather's a little bit cooler in February, we have it in February also. That's when they spawn. It's when the majority of the trout spawn. They actually kind of spawn year round here, but we go all the way up into about April, and I kind of slow down on the trout since March and April. The snook are more, well, they're open season, so and they're really easy to catch in the springtime. So I kind of take the focus off the trout.
Sure. So there's several good months, trout availability.
Yeah.
We're in the heat of it right now,
right
if
now
you will.
Is the hot time, yes.
Speaking of heat, how does that temperature affect what these trout are doing?
Here, I don't know, the past couple of weeks, it's been fairly warm. I mean, fairly mild, other than a couple of days ago. It got pretty darn cold. And what we've been doing is when it's warmer, I've been fishing the backcountry flats, and it's been working really well. Just fishing potholes, any high spots, sandy areas and stuff like that, because trout like to live around the grass. Anywhere you have kelp grass, pretty much. If you find kelp grass, it's more than likely you're going to find trout. But we've been fishing that in the warmer months, and as it cools down, they kind of move out into a little bit deeper water around some of your deeper channels and stuff like that. They go more towards rock shorelines and oyster bars and stuff like that, the deep cuts, just for thermal refuge, basically. Right. And we catch them like that and deeper on the jigs, almost the same way, but when they're deeper, I like to use bait. In the shallows, I use soft plastics.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
That's
interesting.
I would have thought that bait is king, but I guess sometimes bait's not always great.
And it's not fantastic. I mean, but when it's colder, you don't have as many pinfish too. So that's a big thing to steal your bait. Yeah, so you can use shrimp, you can use pinfish and stuff when it gets cooler. But in the warmer months, like I said, shrimp's not the way to go.
Yeah, I know. On those outer bars and everything, the puffers and everything are really abusing the bait. But I mean, they're even abusing, and not to get excited about it, but this is one of the well-known favorites, and I know that you like that. If you want to talk about those, they'll eat the hell out of that. You'll have perfect little triangles taken out.
Oh yeah. This is actually I've been using this probably about 90% of the time catching my trout here lately. Because like I said, it's been fairly warm. Even today, it was pretty cool. The water temperatures in the mid 60s today, and that bait right there worked really good on just a chartreuse jig head. I mean, you can use just about any kind of jig head. This just happens to be the one I use all the time. It holds these plastics on really well, but all we're doing is just working potholes and just throwing it out in the potholes, let it sink, and giving a couple of twitches and let it sink again. Now what happens is these trout. That bait right there in particular, they'll hit it on the fall when it starts to fall. After you jerk it 2 or 3 times and let it fall, you'll feel just that one little tick. Mm-hmm. And I tell people, as soon as you feel the tick, you got to set the hook, because they're going to grab a hold of that thing.
Yeah. So even in the shallows, are you using the jig head? Or I know a lot of people like to, you know, just use a bait hook and go through the nose.
Right. See, that kind of all depends on who I have on the boat. If they're avid fishermen and they're used to working, just say a topwater bait, it works very similar to a topwater bait when you hook this one in the nose with a what I use. Everyone uses like a 3/0 J hook. I use a 4/0 circle hook, even for the trout.
Really?
And it works really well. What happens is them trout grab a hold when a trout grabs a hold of a bait, it'll grab a hold of it in his mouth and it'll turn sideways and swim off. And it works really well with a circle hook. And you wouldn't think that a trout and a circle hook would work really well because they have this real paper thin mouth.
Sure.
But it works fantastic.
Well, I will tell you that's the first I've heard of the circle hook being used in that. You know, because I do use the bait hook in the nose and I do use the jig head. But that circle hook, there you go. Tips on Weeby Tails.
You just got to know how to work a topwater bait, and you work it just like a topwater. In the shallow stuff, we'll just say if it's less than 18 inches deep, I'll use that because it's got a super slow sink rate when you have a small hook attached to the front of the thing. And they do also, they'll hit it on the fall. You just work it like a topwater bait and let it fall very slowly, and they'll hit it right before it hits the bottom.
Cool. There you go. All right, so we will take questions for Mario if you want to put them in the comments right there. You know, we'll try to see what happens as the evening progresses right here. But so trout, do you know, John had mentioned earlier the sheep's head, you know, when you're looking for fish this time of year, mainly it's trout, but are you still looking for reds or
yeah. This has been probably the best 18 months of red fishing that I've ever seen.
Wow.
We've had it's been incredible. I know you guys have seen it too, but usually by the time November rolls around, December, I kind of leave it to the backcountry guys to catch most of these redfish. But we're still in a summertime pattern for these guys. I don't know if it's because there's so many of them out there, but
I just don't think it's been cold enough long enough yet to get the water to where it stays.
Even when the water dipped down into the low 60s for a little while, they were still eating on those outside islands, which is I find it. Yeah, usually you'll find one or two of them on the outside islands, but they're still schooled up.
Mario said, "Hey, John, come here."
Yeah,
John did. I watched Mario do it.
So let me ask you this.
Sure.
This is your main go-to. Do you ever do, everybody wants to fish the popping corks and jig under a popping cork. Do you do that?
If it's like later spring, April, May, June, the popping corks out in open water, 5, 6, 7 feet of water, works great. But like I said, at that time, I just kind of stop trout fishing unless I have to. I have a handful of customers that's all they want to do. So I kind of grin and bear it, and we'll go out there and we'll use the popping corks, and sometimes we'll use that Berkeley Gulp. Works really good under a cork. Sometimes we'll out in that deeper water, if they're not coming up to the surface to hit them, we'll use a Berkeley Gulp under a Carolina, like a bass rig, a Carolina rig, or you can do it on a jig head, but the jig heads get snagged up a lot.
Sure.
But we use just a regular Carolina weight and about 1.5 feet a leader behind that Carolina weight and just drag it behind the boat. It's super simple, but I try not to do it in the summertime, you know, because they're out in deeper water and you have to drift for miles. And I'd rather put out a campfire with my face.
Good deal. Well, congratulations. Like I said, it sounds like you got some interesting things going on. Big announcement on the show. It's the first I've heard of the engagement, so congratulations on that.
It was Christmas time.
Yeah. Oh, well,
nice.
There we go.
Nice.
Oh man. Let's see. We've got that's my go-to on there. So that's the always thing when you're talking to a bunch of fishermen on there that we've, you don't necessarily get a. So what do we got? We got my go-to is the electric chicken. So I imagine
electric chicken.
That's going to be talking about the little mirror, the little, you know what it is? Not the Miradine, the Little John.
The Little John.
The Little John.
Okay,
yeah. I imagine that's what he's talking about.
Yeah. Well, it's just about every soft plastic company makes an electric chicken, nuclear chicken, whatever. It's like pink and green.
Sure.
And it's pretty bright, but you can use those also for any of the trout. I like to use those more where the water is darker. Like we'll just say the Yankeetown area, Wlasiuk, Cedar Key works great in Cedar Key.
Yeah.
I do fish Cedar Key probably 4, 5, 6 times a year, and that's my go-to color up there. And it's usually either a Berkeley Gulp, or they would make a saltwater assassin makes one also in the same color, and they have a paddle tail. But either one of those work really well. But I'm primarily trout fishing down towards Ozello and north of Homosassa.
So this DOA, this is the 5.5 inch. They make this in different sizes, I guess smaller.
They make a 4 inch also.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you prefer one over the other?
I like that one better because it's got a little bit more weight.
Okay.
You can throw it a country mile.
Sure.
The smaller ones you can work okay. You can use them with lighter jig heads if you'd like. But this one, I like this because I can use it with the J or the circle hook in the nose, or I can use it on the jig head. And with that 4 inch one's a little bit too small to work on the J hook or on the circle hook.
Sure.
But this one works on both. So, and I just take as little tackle as I possibly can. You know, I know it works, and yeah, it seems. Yeah, and actually, the other day, actually, Captain Dave Houston showed me a little trick. He says when they're on the jig heads like this and they fall off, you know, because you've been setting the hook and stuff like that. He said, why don't you just pin that thing in the nose just like you would a J hook or a circle hook, and work the jig like you would normally work a jig. I said, that's not going to work at all. First throw out there, we got an 18 incher. I said, I'll be darned, because I couldn't put the jig on it anymore because it would slide off of the jig. So I just pinned it like I would a J hook or a circle hook, and it worked just the same. So I can use them twice over, because these are almost $6 a pack. I believe they're going up in price. So
I've heard 20%.
Yeah. That's
So,
everything's going up now.
So we kind of get you can use it almost twice. And we did that today, and we caught a couple of extras. I only had one bag left, so and we used them all.
You can find these at Captain's Cove Outfitters here in
Yeah.
downtown, beautiful downtown
At the still
Inglis.
old price until they're gone. Get them while they're hot.
Definitely.
Oh wow, there we go. All right, well, Mario, we sure do appreciate you coming on, being another one of the first, being a first on the YouTube episode, you know, here. So we appreciate that.
So are you going to be in with